and welcome to another episode of Paranormal NL, a place where people in Newfoundland and Labrador and anywhere else in the world can share their paranormal experiences. Today on this episode, I have a special guest here with me who's a ghost hunter in Newfoundland and Labrador. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Rafsan, and I would not say that I'm a ghost hunter, particularly, because it was never my intention to actually go to places and, look for ghosts or spirits, per se. I just, a couple weeks ago, I posted on a group called Haunted-NL or something, and I was curious because I saw all these posts, so I was wondering, what if I could, make a show, or, where I could potentially, go to places, and these places are deemed as haunted, so I could go to those places and, try and figure out whether they are actually haunted or just victims of tall tale. So, I posted, and people were, commenting down below, about places that are actually haunted. So, among, all the comments, there was one place that was, commented most, and it was the pig farm at, Portugal Cove, and it was, right behind, Tilt House Bakery.
I looked up a little bit of the back story on that place, Rafsan, and apparently it's an abandoned pig farm. It used to be called Shellowmere Pig Farm. It was the only disease-free hog breeding farm in Canada, and for some reason, I guess Newfoundland gave up funding for it, and it's been abandoned since about the 1990s. And yes, and there's been 3 fires there since the closure of it, and it's still owned by the provincial government. So it is a pretty abandoned area.
I mean, yeah, it was pretty. I mean, the vibe was pretty spooky, and there were questions. I mean, I saw people's comments, so I knew, I was going to a place that might be scary because people were, commenting over and over again, pig farm, and I was like, okay, I'll go there. So I go there, and I was like, I'm gonna shoot the whole thing, I'm gonna film it, and then we eventually arrive at the Tilt House Bakery, and the people over there, we tried to actually talk to them, and they were like, you guys shouldn't go there because it's actually dangerous, and if you're going out there at this late night, you should be careful. And we were like, okay, we understand, and we actually went there, and we did the film. So usually with our show, we have 2 parts, where we start the show at midnight, and we try to roam around the place from 12 to 3.
So you did your own video of this investigation?
Yeah, I did my own video, and the thing is, we do 2 parts. So part 1 is from 12 to 3, and 12 to 3 is usually we hang around the place and try and figure out what's going on, and then part 2 is where we wait for the action hour from 3 a.m. because that's when the spirits are, believed to be more strong and,
otherwise known as the witching hour, or when they say the veil is the most thinnest. Now, I thought that this pig farm was only 1 building, but apparently it's 14 buildings.
Yeah, there are a couple buildings. I mean, most of the buildings are falling apart, and we went there expecting to see something that we actually didn't expect, but unfortunately, I mean, we actually didn't have a lot of equipments EMPs, and we we didn't have a lot of things. We weren't prepared, like, as this was our first video. So we were like, okay, we'll just go there. And initially, like, the place was like, okay, it was kind of like creepy, but for me it wasn't like anything to the point I would say like it is scary. Yeah, I get the story behind that, but me personally, we haven't seen anything that would be, concerning. I mean, the place were like filled with graffitis, and there were a couple of buildings that were falling apart, and it's pretty dangerous. That's for sure. The place is pretty dangerous to hang around because we found bottles and syringes. So that place is it's not safe to you can't just pick this place and hang out. You know what I'm saying? But it's dangerous. But I personally wouldn't say that it's scary.
So you didn't have any type of heebie-jeebies, or some people say they're sensitive and they can sense different things. You didn't get any of that there.
No, it was actually because sometimes when you go to a place and if it has like spirits or something, you kind of get like a heavy feeling like in the air or something. There's something wrong with this place, right?
Now, let me ask you a question. You mentioned EMPs. For our listeners who don't understand what that is, do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of like
EVPs. Sorry.
Yeah, it's different things. So EMPs sometimes, or like we have EVPs, and we actually with like ultraviolet, and you can see things that you're not otherwise supposed to see. And with like there are some devices that would catch like the magnetic field, and that would let us know that okay, there's something out roaming around here. So you would know that okay, there's something I should be careful about, something I can't see, but the machine is picking up energy, so you would know. And sometimes it's as they are beings of the dark. Some people would say they're beings of, me personally, I wouldn't say that, but some people would say that they're beings of dark, and so you can only meet them when it's absolute dark. So this is why people that tend to do paranormal investigating, stuff like that, they tend to go to places and use not like they tend to do it in like total darkness, because they don't want to disturb like the residences of the places they're investigating.
Right.
I'm talking about,
so they go on night vision mode and use ultraviolet light.
Night vision mode, yeah. Most people do that, but we didn't have that kind of budget to actually do that, so we just kind of went to the place. But
Did you go back and check your video to see if you had any electronic voice phenomena? Because sometimes people have caught it on their audio. Some people bring tape recorders and do it that way and lay them down, so as there's no background noise. Other people go back and feed through and listen and look at the actual electronic voice phenomena in the audio to see if there's something was caught that you didn't hear by your own physical ears.
We actually did. We because our concern was, what if we shoot the whole thing and then we come back and we're gonna edit the video and then we find out, there was actually something that missed our eyes at the first place. And so I remember checking like the whole thing frame by frame, just to find anything. But I haven't found anything. But I can't say 100% for sure. Like I won't find anything. I mean, I'm pretty curious, like what if I upload the video and people might see something that I haven't noticed. It could happen potentially. And the sounds that you talked about, it's I also checked the sounds, but so far nothing. But we'll see. Like we'll check it out, like the whole thing, and again before we upload the video. But so far we haven't found anything.
Will you be uploading to YouTube or Facebook?
So currently I'm not using YouTube. So my primary audience would be, primary target would be to get as much audience as I can, and through TikTok actually.
TikTok.
And I do have a TikTok account, so I'm gonna post the videos and like part by part, like one video, and I'm gonna release it like part by part. And I'm also gonna be posting those videos on my Facebook and also in the Paranormal NL group.
And for our listeners who are not familiar on how to find you, how would they find you on TikTok or Facebook?
So my TikTok and Facebook. They're the same name. They're my name, Rafsan Cyph, and it's spelled as Rafsan, and then Cyph.
Is that a Bangladesh name?
Yeah, that's my actual name.
Okay.
So two names. These are actually both these are my first names, but they have like a gap between them. So Rafsan Cyph. These are my names. So you can just, anybody can find me using my name, Rafsan Cyph.
Perfect. We'll definitely be looking forward to seeing those videos. And what are your endeavors for the future? Do you have any other places that you hope to investigate or are thinking about investigating?
I do have places that are in my mind, and we actually made plans to shoot our second video at like Bell Island, to go to the mines and shoot the video. But unfortunately for us, I think the mines are closed now.
They are closed right now until the summer. The museum is there, and I want to say the museum is probably maybe closed for the summer also, but there are other active places. If you listen to another Spotify podcast I did it with a gentleman there. He is head of tourism from Bell Island, and I'll tell you now, for our listeners here on Paranormal NL, that was season 1, episode 8 with Henry Crane, and he's also the treasurer of Radio Bell Island and the chair of tourism for Bell Island, and he's on the Bell Island Town Council. And he talked about several other areas that you could go, but unfortunately Dobbin's Garden, that particular place, is only active in the summer. But there was another few other areas he talked about that may have some activity. The whole island itself is very active.
Yeah, I actually have some other places as well, like in my mind. But I am like, the point of my show is not to go to scary places. My point is to go to places that are deemed scary, and the point of the whole show is for me to go to places and actually figure out whether they are actually haunted or just victim of tall tales. I mean, that's what I keep saying all the time, and that's, my mom once told me a story. So, I come from, I grew up in Bangladesh, and we do have a lot of sightings, and, when you grow up in like South Asian communities, you tend to believe like, many folklores and stuff like that. And
I was going to ask you about your culture, because I think every culture has their own type of things that they believe in.
Yeah. They're their own like personalized apparitions or spirits, whatever. And, there was this story that a couple friends, they were living near like big tree, and this tree was huge, and nobody would go there at night under that tree, and everybody would avoid the area that the tree was in, and they would just turn around, whatever. They won't go near that tree at night. So there was one guy who was pretty say brave, and he would always say, "Oh, but this is all false." And his friends were like, "Okay, you know what? If you're
I think our call
like,
just dropped a little bit. Can you pick it up just a little bit behind? Because I think our call dropped a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure.
I got to the tree at night, and everybody said not a good idea to go there. And there was a gentleman that said, "Okay, I'm going to try this out and go there."
Okay. So this guy, he was like, "Okay, I'll go there at night." And his friends were like, "Oh, if you go there, we're gonna give you money." And he was like, "Yeah, for sure, I'm gonna go there." And they were skeptical. They were like, "Okay, you will not go there. You're just gonna say you went there. In actuality, you've never been there. So how are you gonna know? You've actually been there." So he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna take this, pin with me. I'm gonna nail it I'm gonna hammer it on the tree, like on the body of the tree, to actually let you guys know that I've went there, and it has to be a special pin." And they were like, "Okay, we'll give you this pin." And so they gave it to him. So he goes there at night, fully expecting, as he was a skeptical person, fully expecting that nothing would happen. And so it was 3 a.m. So he starts, hammering the pin on the tree, and it did so. So as he was turning, and he was trying to, go back to home because there's nothing here, and he safely did what he intended to do, he felt a pull. Like he felt like somebody was pulling him from behind, and so he had a heart attack. And his friends, they all went there in the morning to check him out, and they were like, "Okay, what's going on?" And they find like his dead body, and they were like, "Okay, so he is dead." So how did that happen? So they noticed like a piece of cloth was also like attached to that nail, the pin, because when he accidentally hammered a piece of a part of his clothes with the pin. So when he turned back, he felt that pull, but you tend to, in your subconscious, the fear tends to get the better of you, because we know that it's the strongest emotion. So there was actually no ghosts or no nothing. So he just felt that pull, and he thought, "Okay, somebody is actually pulling me from behind," and he had a heart attack. So it's a cautionary tale. I tend to keep that in mind anytime I go to places. I mean, this is not the first time I did it, that I've actually visited a scary place. I'm not trying to say that I have no fear. Obviously, I do.
No, but it is interesting that you take that aspect of it. It's kind of scientifically debunking it. It makes me think of, say, the X-Files. You have the Sculler and Mulder. One believes, the other one doesn't, and then you have the other aspect of Hynek, who was hired by the military.
Yeah. I actually grew up watching X Factors, so I've
X-Files, yes. Mm-hmm.
X-Files, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I actually grew up watching X-Files, and so I was pretty, and also I've been fascinated with occult, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to do play with Ouija board and stuff like that with my friends.
Now people say that can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. See, I as a kid, you don't know what you're doing. You just think, "Okay, this is interesting," and this is I see all the shows, and I remember watching Doctor Who, as a kid, and there was this episode. I believe it was called "The Weeping Angels." So I was pretty scared, and to this very day, I am scared of mannequins or any sort of statues because of that episode. And there are fears that tend to get the best of us, and I'm also a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, and he said like the oldest emotion of mankind is fear, and the strongest kind of fear is the fear of unknown.
The
So
fear and fear itself, yes.
yeah. So I do have some fear. It's not like, okay, he's just abnormal. He's not scared of anything. I do believe in spirits. I mean, me personally, I don't believe that there are uh, people's soul that actually stay in order to after their death. Like many people believe that, okay, spirits, when people die, their spirits tend to stay and their body tends to fall apart. I personally don't believe that. So where does the thing where people say, okay, I've actually seen this person or that person even after they died, it must be their spirit. So where does that come from? Me personally, I would say, so I grew up in like South Asian community, and I had, my religion, and the whole we were believing that every person has like good angel and demon around them. The demon is the one that tries to talk bad ideas, and your evil thoughts are the demon. So when you die, this demon is supposed to be it's from Arab mythology, actually. So it's supposed to be a jinn. Yeah,
I've heard of
if you've
jinns,
heard of
yes.
yeah, jinns. So every person has like a jinn in their like left shoulder or something, and this jinn is supposed to be the one that whispers evil thoughts. And this jinn actually looks the same as you. And so when people die, people say, oh, it's not the soul, actually, it's actually the jinn that stays with you. And after you die, they don't have nowhere to go, so they just roam around. And that is like a part of the culture that that's believed. And I also I grew up.
Some people, I think, call that the doppelganger. If you see yourself, that means you're going to die, or some kind of a prequel to that.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's interesting that you said that. I've heard that, and it's I don't tend to like discredit what others think, but I do tend to have my own thoughts and philosophy like around like about the whole subject. And I'm not like a super skeptic where I'm like, oh, I don't believe like ghosts or spirits at all. I'm not, because I do believe in jinns and I do believe in demons. So I go to the places that I want to investigate and try to be as respectful as possible, because the last thing that you want to do is attract somebody that you didn't intend to attract. Don't attract like unnecessary attraction, because there's a saying, and I believe somebody commented that like under my post, like, don't go to places and if you go to places that are scary, expect something awful to happen, and you should always be scary. You shouldn't like deal with these things because they might follow you, back home. And,
right. I've heard people talk about attachments. Now, this is part one for our listeners of a two-part episode. We're here with Rafsan Cyph. I think I pronounced your name correctly. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Join us again on Paranormal NL for part two with Rafsan.